Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. And a very warm welcome to Sunday's edition of the DC Universe Daily. So here is your main headline. Frank Grillo has hinted, no way. Frank Grillo hasn't hinted about joining DCU. He stated he is joining the DCU on his Instagram, pretty much plastering the DC logo on his Instagram post. So Frank Grillo is joining the DC universe. Now, of course, Frank could be joining Joker 2, Folie à Deux, the Batman 2. He could be joining the Penguin series, the Arkham series, but I don't think he is. Frank Grillo was a very big part of the original Marvel Cinematic Universe. So clearly he's got some connections with James Gunn. So I do believe he's joining the DC universe. Now, some people think he'll be the leader, playing the leader of Creature Commandos in James Gunn's 7-episode written animated series for streaming. James has also stated that any animated actor casting, not animated actors don't exist, but any actor who's actually cast in animation will be playing their roles in live action. But I don't think Frank Grillo will be involved in Creature Commandos. I believe, along with other fans, and this is what's really made me think this, I didn't even think about this for a minute, but I believe that Frank Grillo will be the DC Universe's Deathstroke. I think Frank would be perfect as Deathstroke. There's no question about that. I think he's got everything to play Deathstroke. In the comics, Deathstroke is quite a bit older than Teen Titans, so I would be very, very happy if Frank Grillo was the DC Universe's Deathstroke. And I think most probably that's exactly where we're going to go with that. Ronnie Dodge, morning. Good morning, Ronnie Dodge. How are we doing this Sunday morning? We're just talking about Frank Grillo confirming that he's joining DCU, and the theory is that he's playing Deathstroke. If you can see, technically, something's going wrong with my laptop, unfortunately, and I keep on slowing down. I do apologize. I've tried recording this video. It hasn't worked, so we're just going to continue with the Gremlins. Anyway, yeah. So that's the theory, that Frank Grillo is playing Deathstroke in DC Universe. Ronnie Dodge, could he play Rick Flag Sr.? Maybe, but unlikely. I think Frank's in his 50s or late 40s. I think that will be unlikely, Ronnie. But the theory is that he's playing Deathstroke. Now, Snyderverse stands would be very, very upset about this because they want Joe Manganiello, of course, to continue playing Deathstroke. Now, we saw very little of Joe as Deathstroke. We didn't really say much, did he? We saw him in the Justice League, kind of Injustice, not Injustice, but kind of that kind of villain team, kind of him in Justice League, that post-credit scene. We saw him in the Snyder Cut, in the Nightmare Future as well, but we haven't seen that much of him. Joe looked like a great Deathstroke. His costume was great. I would have liked to have seen more of him. Ronnie Dodge, I can't stop watching that Flash trailer. Me neither, my friend. It's actually the perfect trailer. Let's hope once it's all been put together and everything's been done with it, it's the perfect movie as well. I think it's going to be outstanding because the Flash movie isn't just about the Flash. When you do a Flashpoint story, is about the DC universe as a whole. So even though the Flash is the predominant character, it's about him, absolutely, about the Flash, but it is also about the DC universe, whether you do that in the comics or as part of a DC movie. So, yeah. So I would, if I was Snyderverse stands, I'd be quite happy that Joe Manganiello is not James Gunn's Deathstroke, even though he still could be, because that means if the Sell Snyderverse to Netflix campaign works, as unlikely as that is, but nothing's impossible in this game, then Joe Manganiello would continue to be Zack Snyder's Deathstroke. So I would see this as good news. Ronnie Dodge Saw. Oh, Ronnie Dodge. I saw Ant-Man yesterday. It was May. Yes, I did state on yesterday's video, Ronnie, that I haven't watched any MCU since episode 4 of Miss Marvel. And I didn't deeply hate it. It just wasn't made for me. And then I just decided I didn't want to watch the MCU anymore. I wasn't motivated to watch the MCU anymore. But I'm not surprised that you had that feeling about it. It's interesting that people used to celebrate May MCU, and now they're calling it out. Very interesting. Ronnie Dodge. Only good thing is Jonathan Majors. Yeah, Johnny is a very good actor. You know, he's proved it time and time and again. Fake's done very well to bring him in. I'm just wondering if look, he's a very interesting, complex character because there's so many versions of him. The version of Loki is actually called. He's not actually Kang. He's another version called He Who Remains. So it's very, very a complicated, complex story. He's a multiversal supervillain, and Majors so far apparently is killing it. I saw him in the Loki series finale. I thought he was great. I obviously haven't seen Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, but yeah, no surprise, great actor. But you need more. I mean, Man of Steel just isn't a great movie because Michael Shannon is a great Zod. And by God, Michael Shannon is a great fucking Zod. But Man of Steel is a great movie in its own rights. Even if you don't think it's a great Superman movie, it's a great movie in its rights because of the different things it does. A movie must be consistent. Marvel don't make movies. Marvel make the next chapter of the MCU. And this is what James Gunn's discussed for the DCU. He doesn't want to do that. He wants to focus on the movie as well as focusing on the continuing story. You can actually do both. What Marvel have been caught out in doing now and not doing as well as they used to is just focusing on chapterized films that don't care about making a good movie. And that's the problem. Ronnie Dodge. Michael Shannon looks good in The Flash. Looking forward to see how different his variant OS different from Man of Steel. I mean, if you want me to tell you, the difference is he's more ruthless. He does some serious shit. He's definitely more ruthless, less moral in this variant version. I won't give anything away. I'm sure you've read the rumors like all of us have, but obviously I've seen a test screening. I know a few more things. But yeah, the difference is he's a lot more ruthless and less empathetic. I think the thing with Zod is in Man of Steel, he's an empathetic character. He's not necessarily a villain. He's kind of like, it's an interesting, I don't really want to say this and upset people. I suppose in a way he's a bit like Bin Laden. I suppose once upon a time, Bin Laden, you know, had a family. Maybe they were attacked by the West. Maybe he lost that family. This is what happens to Zod. He loses his whole world because the people ruling Krypton did the wrong things. And that's the commentary. There's a deeper commentary on Zod. And he's not necessarily an out-and-out, you know, moustache-twirling villain. I think what happens in the end when Cal actually destroys the world engine and stuff, he then becomes a villain. He ain't playing nice anymore. Not that he was playing nice before. He wasn't killing to be nasty at first. But when Cal destroys what he wants, that's when he says, right, these humans you protect, I'm going to wipe them out just to fucking hurt you. Ronnie Johnny, I've read the leak. He gets nuts. I'm interested how much Faora is in the movie. Faora is absolutely in this movie. I'll leave it at that, but she's in that movie. She's brilliant. She's brilliant in the Man of Steel film. We should have had a lot more of her. These are the reasons, Ronnie, I want the Cell Snyderverse to Netflix thing to go through and be successful, because we all deserve to see more of the Snyderverse because it was so good. But I also want to see the DCU by James Gunn and Peter Safran be successful. I believe we can have it all. You can support Cell Snyderverse to Netflix, but support what James Gunn and Peter Safran are doing. You can also support the Batman universe and the Joker universe. We can have it all. This is what Marvel doesn't have. So, yeah, I think it's very exciting to be a DC fan right now, as I always say, Ronnie. So, Frank Grillo as Deathstroke doesn't mean you'll never see Joe Manganiello as Deathstroke again. So be very aware of that. So if Frank Grillo is Deathstroke, and by the way, I think he will be a great Deathstroke. I like Frank. I've always liked Frank. I think he's one of the best castings we've ever seen in the MCU. And I know those of you who are going to be saying, oh my God, you know, he's an MCU actor. James Gunn casting MCU actors. He's not just an MCU actor. Frank Grillo, Frank has a huge CV. He's a very successful actor. He will be a great Deathstroke. I mean, the best Deathstroke I've seen is in Arrowverse, in the Arrow series 1 and 2. That is the look, fact. This isn't even a debate. The Deathstroke in Arrow seasons 1 and 2 is the best thing we've ever seen. The actor nails it. The writers nail it. The whole thing is amazing. By the way, can't wait to see Oliver Queen return in the 9th and final series of The Flash as well. I won't be watching the whole series of that, but I want to see Green Arrow again. Youthless Al Jajan, running with gun. I don't know what that means, my friend. I don't talk in hashtags. I talk in real world. But yeah, let me know what you mean by that. So I'm not running with gun. I'm basically celebrating everything we're getting in the DC universe. And if that means we can get more Snyderverse over on Netflix, Netflix, by the way, have not made any public statement. What does this mean from my point of view? This means they want to see what happens with Rebel Moon. And if you're interested in Rebel Moon, the feedback I'm getting that it's absolutely outstanding. It shits over the whole of Disney Star Wars, and you're going to love it. This is not just for Snyderverse fans. This is fans. You know, if you're a Star Wars fan, you should definitely be getting excited for Rebel Moon. This is kind of R-rated Star Wars, if you like. Don't forget, this story was pitched by Zach to George Lucas himself, but George really wasn't interested in R-rated Star Wars, but he was impressed by the young director at the time. Ronnie Dodge, Michelle Pfeiffer is good in Ant-Man. Love to see her as Selena in a multiverse movie. Look, Michelle Pfeiffer has been in this industry for over 30 years, and, you know, Michael Douglas even more. You know, I'm not sure if I believe that Michelle Pfeiffer and Michael Douglas fell in love and had a relationship. I can believe that of Michael Keaton and Michelle Pfeiffer a lot more. I'd love to see her again. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe in the Flash movie. I didn't see her in the test screening, but she may appear. You never know. As I say, don't dismiss anything in this game. Anything is possible. Wasn't supposed to be live today. This was supposed to be a pre-recorded show, but my bloody laptop is really winding me up. So I just thought, because I kept on stopping it. So I thought, if I go live, anything goes wrong, I'm just going to keep on going. Do you know what I mean? Because I need to do this. It's part of my OCD. I need to do YouTube videos, even if they're not viewed. I couldn't give a shit if they're not viewed. It's part of my day. I have to do these videos and talk about entertainment, TV, movies, and DC because I love it. It's what wakes me up in the morning. Anyway, so that's your update. That's your huge update. Frank Grillo has actually gone on his Instagram, posted the DC logo and said, it's time for new things. Ronnie Dodge, days. Your laptop is having one of those days. Ronnie, my laptop is always having one of those days because it's a shitty, cheap laptop. I don't have all the sleek, flash, expensive stuff like the big YouTubers have. So it's a bit of a struggle, but we get to do videos. I think you can hear me most days, and I think as long as you know what I'm attempting to say, that's the main thing. We don't need flashy intros. We don't need pictures of stuff and things like that. I think I can push my message and say what I want to say without all the flashy stuff. And for the people who come in, I think they're okay with that. And that's cool. Ronnie Dodge, I have a cheap laptop. I just use it for work. Yeah, that's what they're supposed to be used for. This isn't supposed to be used for this, even though it has the ability to be used for this. But there you go. But the main topic today is that James Gunn has confirmed that in the next 6 months, there will be one casting announcement in the DCU. Now, I think, I wonder what that could be. I think it's going to be Superman. Imagine the day they announce the casting for Superman. How do you think that's going to go down with the fans? It's going to be fucking carnage. because a lot of us are excited for the future. Ronnie Dodge, I think he said 6 casting announcements. Did he? I thought he said 1. Maybe it was me just scrolling down Twitter. Maybe I have to buy a blue tick on Twitter to see tweets fully. I don't know. So anyway, that's what I thought he said, but he said 6 casting announcements. That's cool. Thanks for that, Ronnie. It's always handy having Ronnie about. So I shall correct myself and take as gospel what the Lord Ronnie has just said. So James Gunn has said there will be 6 castings in the next 6 months. I thought he said 1 casting in the next 6 months. But anyway, whatever it is, I think one of those castings is going to be Superman, because he would have completed his script surely by then. So as I say, it's going to be fucking carnage on the day he announces Superman, because there are those of us who are excited and support James and Peter's vision and think this is a good idea and all of that. But also, I think there's not one person who doesn't love Henry Cavill as Superman. Even if you're okay with the recast, or you kind of think it's not right, but I'll go with it. Yusuf Al-Jazan, who is he going to cast? I have no idea, Yusuf. Who would you like him to cast? Let me know. I'm open. I think Austin Butler is like one of the best like young actors out there right now. I think Austin Butler will be a great Superman. Would Austin want to do it after playing Elvis? And, you know, he's going to be in the Dune sequel as well. Looking forward to that. Love the first movie as well. Ronnie Dodge, sorry, my dad, he said casting announcements in 6 months. Yeah, what I read was, Ronnie, that it was actually 1 casting announcement in the next 6 months. Ronnie Dodge, John Boyega is Jon Stewart. Do you know that John Boyega follows me on Twitter? Bet you didn't know that. And it was a happy accident, because there was an article saying that John Boyega didn't want to be in Star Wars again. And I commented, can you blame him? He liked it. Then he followed me. And I say some serious shit on Twitter sometimes. The guy still follows me. That's amazing. So, John, if you ever watch my YouTube content, which I doubt, but I do share it on Twitter, I love you, man. Thanks for the support. Thanks for respecting the fact that we all have different views, and it doesn't mean that there's, you know, we're ists and isms and things like that. So thanks for the follow. I think you're a great actor. I thought in The Force Awakens, you were absolutely sensational. I thought you and Daisy had great screen chemistry. And I think the way Johnson separated you both in the what's the bloody force? The Last Jedi, yeah, the way he separated you in The Last Jedi was so toxic. It was outrageous that you and Kelly Marie Tran, a black man and an Asian woman, were separated from all the rest of the cast, like the white cast. And you know, and Oscar Isaacs, I suppose you would call him a kind of, I suppose, a Latino actor. I'm not sure where he actually, is he a Muslim actor, actually? I think he's a Muslim actor. But basically, you had John, a black actor, and, you know, Kelly Marie Tran, an Asian actress, separated from the rest of the cast, which I kind of thought that was wrong. That seemed a bit racist to me. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of John Boyega, and John Boyega would be a great Jon Stewart. Ronnie Dodge, he was fanboying about the Flash trailer. Oh, I didn't know that. That's awesome. I didn't see that. That's brilliant. That's very exciting. But who knows? Maybe he will join DC Universe, and we want to see these people joining DC Universe. John Boyega is a great actor. John Boyega was in, John Boyega's been in indie stuff. He's been in British stuff. He was great casting in The Force Awakens by JJ, just like Oscar Isaacs was great casting, just like Adam Driver was great casting. I think The Force Awakens was a solid start. That's not how I would have reignited Star Wars. I would have done something a little bit different, but I think it's a good movie, and I think if JJ wrote and directed the second movie, then he could have really established the third movie a lot better, because bringing back the Emperor was just a desperate move, because he didn't know what to do in the end because it'd been interfered with. Ronnie Dodge, John Boyega said, the Flash looks amazing, and said, okay, DC. Oh, that is interesting. That is interesting. So I wonder if that means, okay, DC, as in he approves, or, okay, I'll be involved. Look, it just says a lot about Andy Muschietti, doesn't it? It really does, that, this Flash movie has a trailer. Finally, I mean, Barbara, his sister, teased that trailer about a year ago. She said we were seeing it soon. We never did. I did call that out at the time because I was getting wound up by the postponement. So I wasn't trying to be disrespectful to Barbara herself. But yeah. John Frank Grillo should be casted as Green Arrow or Deathstroke in the DCU. Yeah, we were just talking about that, John. We were talking about Frank potentially being Deathstroke and me saying he would be a perfect Deathstroke. I don't celebrate the fact that potentially Joe Manganiello won't be Deathstroke anymore because I think Joe would have been a great Deathstroke. But if we do restore the Snyderverse, and I'm part of that team, I'm DC all around, I would like to see Joe as Deathstroke in the Snyderverse for sure. Ronnie Dodge, nice to finally have it confirmed Sasha is Kara. Well, if you like, it was confirmed when Andy Machete had her on Instagram and gave her the role officially on Instagram. There's no bigger confirmation than that. But it was great to see her finally. We saw the leaks. I mean, obviously, I saw her in the test screening. I've seen a bit more of her than you, obviously. She's great. She doesn't put her foot wrong. She's a great Supergirl. She was going to be Supergirl in Hamada's new timeline. That doesn't look like that's the case anymore. James Gunn has said he hasn't made a final decision on the Supergirl situation. As Sasha said on Twitter herself, don't listen to anyone. There's always hope. So Sasha isn't out until she's out. If you go and watch this film and you rave about her on social media and hashtag James Gunn that you loved her, there's a big chance she could be involved. Unlikely, but there's still a chance. There is also always hope. So I think on the day, going back to what I was talking about, on the day the new Superman is announced, it is going to be carnage, especially on Twitter. I feel sorry for the person that's going to be cast. Obviously, it's a great opportunity to be cast as Superman. I will support that actor. Hopefully, in my point of view, it's the right actor to play Superman, but I would never attack an actor for getting a role, even if it's not the casting I agree with. You know, I know what it's like to be an actor. I know what it's like to struggle to get work. So to be given, you know, the role of Superman as a young actor is the greatest opportunity in the world. Where would Brandon Routh be without that Superman casting in 2006? Where would Henry Cavill's career be now without being Superman? He's got a lot of roles because he played Superman. And this actor will be poked and prodded, and, you know, he'll be analysed. Has he got the right eyebrows? Has he got the right chin structure, nose? Does he look good? Is he buff enough? People are going to call him too skinny, too big. You know, this actor, you know, the ghost of Christopher Reeve is still there. So, Ronnie Dodge, Comic-Con, I feel Superman actor will be announced. Maybe, Ronnie. I don't know if they would just announce, if they're doing announcements like that for Comic-Con, or if they do them officially. I don't know if that's the place to announce actors in roles. Now, he may be there, right? But, I mean, what is the time frame of an announcement for that casting? Well, don't forget, this is one of the main things that James is working on. This is the most important thing. His Twitter photo above his profile picture is of Superman. He's all in on Superman right now. So he's been working on this for a while. I don't think he finishes this script for about 3 or 4 months, maybe more. Who knows how? Because there's going to be different versions of the script. He's going to rewrite it. And that's when you're in charge of something, you've got to police yourself if it's working or not as well. But obviously, Zaslav will be looking at it as well. Peter Safran will be talking to him and saying, you know, there'll be a lot of people over him. Superman has always been important to this studio. Ever since Superman the movie, this is a character they don't like messed about with or disrespected. So it has to work, especially with the divisive reaction to Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman. They don't want to make any mistakes. Superman is the most important character, not just in DC, but on WB Discovery's books. It's as simple as that. Yusuf Al-Jawam, Comic-Con announcement from James Gunn. Maybe, but again, I question whether that's the right place just to announce an actor cold. You never know. It will be very statement-y, But how do you keep that secret? It's not that easy, you know. So I don't think that's going to happen. He may be there to celebrate that announcement prior, but yeah, I don't know if maybe the announcement will even be made as soon as that, my friend. So there will be some exciting announcements there. I'm sure of that, but I'm not sure if that's going to be one of them. We'll have to wait and see what happens there. And there's no question about it. James Gunn is not the only one responsible for the removal of Henry Cavill as Superman. Walter Hamada also was going to replace Henry as Superman. But here's my question. Why wasn't Henry Cavill in the first act of the Flash movie, as is Ben Affleck? What is the difference? Why couldn't Cavill be there? Even if you're getting rid of him, even if you're firing him, even if you don't want him as Superman anymore, it would have been such a great thing to see Henry Cavill Superman in the first act of the movie before Barry Allen enacts Flashpoint. It would be amazing. We could have even seen them racing, the Flash and Superman continuing their race from that Justice League post-credit scene. I know people would have been pissed off from the Snyderverse stands side of things, but I think that is a good moment in Justice League. I don't like Justice League. I think Justice League is a urination of what DC is and what Warner Brothers' 100-year history is. But I do like that post-credit scene, and I would have actually liked to have seen that race. Yusuf Ajuan, Henry Cavill is an expensive actor. Oh, stop it, Yusuf. Stop it. They're all fucking expensive. What are you talking about? That's a ridiculous thing to say. They're all expensive. That's not why they're not using him. Or do you really believe Warner Brothers Discovery are broke? Please, let's stop being silly. Did you see that Flash movie trailer? Does that look like a trailer of a broke company? Please, let's not be dumb here. No disrespect. It's nothing to do with that. It's a deeper thing. Clearly, Cavill and WB have never got on. Oh, don't forget what they did to his upper lip, and that I think that's where the things really deteriorated. I don't know. I don't know what went wrong before them. But, you know, we talk about him. I think he should have been in that first act, just like Ben Affleck is. Why is it okay for Ben Affleck to be in that first act? And personally, I think we should see as many characters from the DCEU in that first act as possible, and especially Superman. So even if you cut him in, even if you delete him from the universe when you bring Barry back from Flashpoint, he's in that opening with Bruce Wayne and the Flash, and that would have been great. And I just don't understand the decision not to do that. So the relationship between Hamada and Cavill must have been really bad. I think it wasn't just the Hamada situation, it was the studio in general. I don't know what happened there. But then Mike DeLuca and Pam Adby decided to bring Henry back before James and Peter were named co-CEOs of DC Studios. So they filmed some kind of cameo. Now, James Gunn and Peter Safran have come in. They have decided that cameo must be cut. I can only assume that cameo would have been at the end of the movie, setting up what the new universe was going to be. So Mike DeLuca and Pam Adby wanted Cavill as part of the new timeline, and James Gunn and Peter Safran didn't. But I think even now, there should be some kind of cameo somewhere in the film where Henry can at least have some kind of farewell moment in the movie, so we can say goodbye to him. John Henry did not even have a DC contract. Irrelevant, John. Irrelevant, John. Doesn't matter if he had a contract or not. I don't care if he had a contract or not. I'm not discussing contracts. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to say why. Because they could have given him a contract if they wanted to, John. It's not rocket science, is it? Why wasn't he in that first act? Why is Ben Affleck in that first act but not Henry Cavill, right? Doesn't make sense unless there's deeper friction there, which clearly there was. And we don't really know what the beef was about. Clearly, James Gunn and Peter Safran are from the Walter Hamada side of things because Walter brought them both in. So they're from that side of the old WB pictures, if you like. There's no question about that. So He's not in that first act. But even now, you could film a cameo for him to have some kind of farewell in. Some kind of, there's Henry Cavill's Superman flying away, some kind of celebration of him, something. But nothing. Nothing. And now that cameo is being cut. Why did we go from DeLuca and Adby saying yes to Cavill to James Gunn saying no? Well, this is very interesting as well. Now, the other day he was complaining that people have been saying that he said that his Superman will be 25. He's now denying saying that, and he said he only ever said that his Superman was under 40. Of course, he said that to try and justify the fact that he was replacing Cavill as Superman. But how much younger than Henry Cavill will this actor be? Now Gunn is denying he ever said his Superman will be 25. So what does that mean? So I don't know what that actually means. So maybe his Superman will be younger than 25. Don't know. It's a bit mysterious, isn't it? We don't know what's going to happen there. I'm merely saying, right, that the day this casting is announced, James Gunn is going to put himself under a lot of pressure. Now, I'm not saying he shouldn't have replaced Cavill, because it's understandable that maybe he wants a Superman that's younger. This is a 10-year plan. I get that. It's just all rather messy. As I say, it's not just about James Gunn. It's about before James Gunn. They're doing a Flash movie. They've got Ben Affleck's Batman there, but they haven't got Henry Cavill's Superman there. And really, it doesn't really make sense to me. None of it. It's all rather strange, if you ask me. But he's gone. But who are not gone are the fans, and the fans of Henry Cavill's Superman. And never think you as a viewer and a consumer are not important. You are the most powerful outlet in this industry. If you don't like what they're doing, if you don't support what they're doing, most importantly, if you don't consume what they're doing, then they are in big trouble. So they can have the authority. You are not the CEOs of DC Studios, but you can destroy what they're doing by not consuming it. And they're very well aware of it, even though these days they attack you, the consumer, which is the most dumbest thing to do. You know, do you know what I mean? You know, your customer is your most important thing, and your customer wields all the power. We need the industry to make great content, and they need us to consume that so-called great content. And if we don't consume it, they don't have a business. They're not making fan fiction. They're not making this for themselves. So we are a very important element. So whoever's cast as Superman, he's got to be. He better be the most solidest, most amazing casting they could ever have come up with. Otherwise, they will be destroyed. Yusuf Al-Jadwan, Kevin Feige leaving Marvel Studios. Excuse me, Yusuf. Can you explain yourself there? I wouldn't. By the way, I don't think that's official. I think that's just Kevin. That's just Yusuf guessing. But I did make a prediction on my Twitter the other day. I don't know if you saw it. That by the end of this year, he would have left his position as Marvel Studios president. Why do I think this is? Look, there's a lot of problems at Disney. They have become very extremist politically on the left side. They have represented their ideology in their films badly. They had Brie Larson in a press conference prior to the release of the first Captain Marvel attacking straight white males in their 30s. Guess who made that movie make over $1 billion? Straight white males in their 30s and over. Blue Beetle animator Frank Grillo liked the comment of a fan who said he should play Deathstroke. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't mean he's definitely playing Deathstroke, but yeah, I think he would be a great Deathstroke. I would approve of that casting. I think he's got everything in his locker to play a great Deathstroke. I loved his performances in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think his character is as brooding, as dark, and as reality-based as Marvel ever got. So, yeah, I think he would be a great Deathstroke. He looks great in a beard as well. So, yeah, I think he would be perfect. I definitely applaud that casting from James Gunn and Peter Safran. And I think, yeah, people will complain that he's a Marvel actor, but he's not really a Marvel actor. He's an actor. James knows him. James knows he can do the job. And as long as you can do the job, I think he would be perfect casting as Deathstroke. And I would definitely celebrate that casting. He's definitely joining the DCU. He's definitely confirmed it on his Instagram. It's not a hint. It's blatant. He's put the DC logo on the post, and I would absolutely love him as Deathstroke. I think he will be a great Deathstroke if he's about to play Deathstroke. So I celebrate that. Now Deathstroke has always been older than the Teen Titans. I think we will get a live action Teen Titans. I think we will get eventually some kind of movie or streaming show. Obviously, the other DC Titans show isn't going to keep going. I think they're important because James has said that he wants to fill out the Bat family. Well, they're actually a big extension to that Bat family, considering Dick Grayson is also involved in some versions in the comics of the Titans as well. So, Blue Beetle animated. Do you think Deathstroke will be in The Brave and the Bold? I would imagine there's a big chance of maybe either him being the main villain, which wouldn't surprise me, by the way, or hinting for him being a villain in the future. He could be in a post-credit scene. I think there's a good chance he could be in Brave and the Bold. I don't think that's a definite, but I certainly wouldn't dismiss that Blue Beetle animator. I think there's a good chance. And look, Deathstroke is a very big character. And as I said earlier, the best live-action Deathstroke we've had thus far is the guy in Arrow seasons 1 and 2. Not only did his performance work, but the writing by the showrunners for that character, seeing him murder Moira Queen is one of the most heartbreaking, compelling situations. I still think killing off Moira Queen, her Arrow, going forward, I think she was a very important element to the balance of the show and the balance to Oliver Queen as well. And I think maybe it was a bit like killing off Rita in Dexter. It was a good idea at the time. It worked at the time. But now, when you haven't got her anymore, you lose that balance. And I think killing off Moira really did hurt the Arrow show. And it's a bit like Martha Kent leaving Smallville in Series 6. It hurts the show. It hurts the balance of the show. But they really didn't know what to do with Martha in Smallville once John Schneider and Jonathan Kent left the show, obviously. But yeah, so I think big twists like that are good, but then you lose the actor. It's a bit like the Red Wedding in Game of Thrones. You know, you obviously lose the matriarch of the Stark family, and the Red Wedding is one of the best twists I've ever seen. It's an amazing, shocking moment, but yeah, you still got to live without the character. So yeah, I think we can see him in The Brave and the Bold. He may even be the main villain. So yeah, we know obviously The Brave and the Bold is a longer way off than Superman Legacy. Do believe we'll see Batman in Superman Legacy somehow. Because I think Superman Legacy isn't just about making a Superman film. It's about world building of the DCU. It's about showing the universe, showing some characters. Wouldn't surprise me if we get a post-credit scene in Superman Legacy with Supergirl really hinting at Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow as well. Very excited for that one as well. Don't see how people can't like that slate. Swamp Thing. As I say, Swamp Thing's introducing the Justice League Dark Universe to DCU as well. So that's an exciting thing as well. Can't wait for that movie. Now, there was rumours that James Mangold was in talks to do that one. Not sure if that's the case. James is a really good director, even though he blocked me on Twitter. They'll block me on Twitter. I'm too outspoken. But yeah. Yusuf Al-Jawan. I want to see Nightwing in Brave and the Bold. Yeah, I mean, look, we're going to see Dick Grayson. Now, it depends where Dick Grayson is in his evolution. Is he still the young Dick Grayson? Is he, I mean, look, we know he ain't going to be the main Robin, but he could have been Robin in the past. So maybe he is Nightwing in this movie. Now, don't forget, Superman Legacy starts the DCU kind of in a world with established heroes. But will it be a world of an established Justice League? It's something I'd like to see, but I'm not sure how far, historically we are. Because we know that Superman's been Superman for a couple of years when Superman Legacy begins. So I think we will have a ready-made universe, and I think that's what's so exciting. We don't have to wait 5 movies for them to build this out. We've tried that. That's what the Marvel formula was. It built out their Marvel Cinematic Universe slowly. It worked. It worked mostly because no one had any expectations. There were no franchises then. It was the Marvel Cinematic Universe who made the franchise thing popular, which I think really hurt cinema, because I think you need more than just franchises in entertainment. Blue Beetle animator Slade versus the Bat Family is guaranteed to make $1 billion. Yeah, I think. Look, I'm not going to say guaranteed, because some funny things have happened with movies, especially DC movies. But if that's done well, Blue Beetle animator, there's certainly a chance of making a lot of money. Blue Beetle animator, do you think that if Frank ends up being Slade, the Snyder fans will complain? Yes, I discussed that a little bit later on. I'll say that again. How could I have said that a little bit later on? I did say that earlier on this live video. Yes, I think they will be very, very angry. But as I've explained, if the Sell Snyderverse to Netflix campaign works out, then Joe will still be their dark side. They should be relieved if this is the case, because then Joe's ready and willing to be Zack Snyder's Deathstroke again. But look, this is a new universe. They're basically starting again, and they've got to make the creative choices they want to make. That's why when I talk about the recasting of Cavill as Superman, it's not all on James Gunn. It's on the previous leadership and how it was handled and mishandled. But basically, Affleck and Cavill were harmed in Batman versus Superman and their future because that film was so divisive. Sam DeJan reviews, Frank Grillo will play Rick Flag Sr. I don't know. And I'm not going to say that's for sure. I don't know. You don't know. If you'd like that to happen, cool. But just because you like something to happen, it doesn't mean it is going to happen. But hey, I'm not dismissing that. That would be cool, because if he plays Rick Flag Sr., he's going to go after Peacemaker, isn't he? What he did to his son, which would also be very interesting. If he plays Rick Flag Sr., it means the reason he killed Rick Flag, James, in the first place was because he had a plan. And I like that kind of a plan. So I'm not opposed to Frank Grillo playing Rick Flag Sr. That would be very exciting. And we'll see what James is going to do. There's certainly a lot of potential and excitement with what James and Peter are attempting to do. And I'm here for it. I'm here for everything. The Elseworlds, Sell Snyderverse to Netflix. I'm here for all of it, to be honest with you, because I think everyone can get what they want here if everyone is fair. But right now, we are looking forward to an exciting future. I'm excited for Shazam! Fury of the Gods. I think it's going to be a better film than Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. There, I've said it. I think it's a better film than Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I think a lot of people are sleeping on Shazam! Fury of the Gods, and I do fear that may mean its box office won't be huge. I think its reviews will probably be solid. From what I've read about it and what I've heard in videos from scoopers about it, it's a very, very good film. And I think if you do go and see it and give it a chance, you will enjoy it. But the main event this year, of course, is the Flash movie. Everyone's talking about Ezra Miller. Jason Momoa is hyping the movie up now and saying, I love you, Ezra. And I discussed yesterday how Jason's been getting a lot of kickback from that. But at the end of the day, he's supporting his friend. He's allowed to support his friend. I mean, even people in prison have friends supporting them. It's okay, right? When people can support their friends. You don't just wash your hands off people. And it's difficult for people in the public to understand. But also what I said yesterday, Jason Momoa, in terms of the Ezra Miller situation, is coming from a more informed place than we are. We're getting all these accusations thrown at us and we're just saying, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. But ultimately, we don't really know the truth of the situation. But it is done now. They are getting the help that they need. And I'm excited for the Flash movie. It's a bit like my club, Manchester United, having, Quatar bidding for them and everyone getting upset because of Quatar's beliefs and actions in the past. I don't care. Don't care about any of that. I want my club to be owned by the most richest, most powerful people ever, so we can do anything. And that's where I am with that. So, yeah, we can all be very, very moral, but then we have to look at ourselves. And, we can say this about Ezra Miller and that about Ezra Miller, but then we have to look at ourselves. Are we perfect? Have we never put a foot wrong? Have we owned up to all our wrongdoings? No, I haven't. I've got away with loads of shit in my life. Not in the level of Ezra Miller, the stuff that they were accused of, but at the end of the day, that's life. Now, we live in a generation where people think that everyone should face up to everything wrong they've ever done. But that isn't reality, my friends. Sometimes you get away with stuff, and that's okay because we all do bad shit in our lives, and we move on from that. Yusuf Adjouan, Robert Downey Jr. exposed as a criminal and he's still got a career as Iron Man. Exactly. He was exposed as a criminal. He did his time. I remember it at the time. I remember seeing him being charged in court. It was a very sad day because I looked up to Robert Downey Jr. I thought his performance as Chaplin was one of the best artistic portrayals I've ever seen. I loved him in Air America with Mel Gibson. I loved him in a lot of things. He went to prison, did his time, and reinvented himself. That's okay, Yusuf. You're allowed to do that. He did his time. He faced the consequences of his actions. That's life. He came back. He was one of the main reasons the MCU was so great. He's had a great career since coming out of jail. He hasn't reoffended. He seems like a great guy now, and we're not going to hold it against him. Because if we hold that against him, if we hold Ezra's actions against them, then I have to stand here and make 6 billion fucking confessions about everything I've done in the past 50 years, and I'm not going to do that. You're a human being. You do bad shit. You do good shit. I do bad shit. I do good shit. That's the way it is. So no one can be good all the fucking time. And we shouldn't be judging people, but we do. Even though we're as fucking flawed as the people in Hollywood. The issue is that they constantly talk down to us and tell us how we should have their worldviews. That's where it's gone wrong. And that's why they keep on getting exposed, because they're talking down to us, their public, their customers. And that, my friends, certainly has to stop. No one on this planet is perfect. I'm not perfect. Fit women have walked past me. When they walk past, I have a good look. Does that make me a bad person? I don't know. I wait till they're gone, so they can't see me looking at them. Then I go, ooh, yeah, wouldn't mind some of that. We all do it. And women do it as well, right? We have all this propaganda these days that men are kind of just looking at women. And look, we all do it to each other. We all do this shit. No one is perfect. We will have views that we shouldn't expose in reality. And that's okay. Blue Beetle Animated. I feel bad for Shazam because it's going up against Creed 3 and John Wick 4. Is it actually released on the same weekend as those films, Blue Beetle Animator? Rolo, it's not the same. Stop making excuses for Ezra just because you want to see the movie. Rolo, I want you to confess all your sins right now so I can judge you. Come on, Rolo, Mr. Perfect. Tell me everything you've ever done wrong. I am not making excuses for Ezra. Ezra clearly has done wrong, right? I'm not making excuses. But I do want to fucking see that movie. I do want to celebrate that movie because I'm a DC fan. And I'm not going to rob myself of that, because if I say to Ezra, you are this, you are that, you the other, you shouldn't be in this industry, I have to say that to 75% of the people in Hollywood, because what they've done is worse than Ezra, right? This is the way the world is, Rolo. Gen Z, wake up. Everybody is flawed. Everyone does bad shit. you hope for forgiveness, you move on, and you try and become a better person if it's at all possible. That's the world. But you people want to cancel the whole world. And if we cancel the whole world, we cancel each other. There's no world and we're all locked in our fucking homes and nobody can enjoy anything because you, this generation, think that everyone has got to be perfect and there's no perfection. You've got to forget this. This is bullshit, Rolo. Bullshit. The person has done wrong, accused of lots of serious stuff. You are not the police, He's been arrested. They've been arrested. It's done. It's done, right? That's the way it is. We can't perfect the world. And Rolo, unless you're willing to confess all the bad things and the sins that you've committed, you can't be looking down at Ezra Miller. Ezra Miller, right? I'm not defending anything that Ezra Miller's done, but who am I to rob myself of a great DC movie? Why should I rob myself? Why should I rob myself of my beloved Manchester United being owned by Dubai or Quator? Just because they don't like this and they don't support that. I don't care. I want my team to buy the best players and win all the flipping trophies and have the best stadium. I don't care. I can't right all the wrongs of the world. I can try my best to give to charity, make sure as fewer people are homeless as possible, help children who are in bad homes, try and, donate to newborn children who have got horrible illnesses that die young. I can do all of that, but I can't perfect everyone's wrong behavior because then that makes me a hypocrite. What about my wrong behavior? What about your wrong behavior? I am not defending Ezra Miller. But I am going to see this movie and I'm going to enjoy this movie. And this doesn't make me a bad person. I'm going to watch this movie again. I'm going to do a non-spoiler review. I'm going to do a spoiler review and I'm going to enjoy it. Rolo, if you want to watch the movie, then watch the movie, but no mental gymnastics for Ezra. Rolo, I don't care about your Gen Z words, right? Confess all your sins. Confess all your sins. I am not doing any mental gymnastics at the end of the day, right? At the end of the day, it's official. The person is mentally ill, clearly, with the stuff that they've been accused of. Clearly they are, and they need help. And there's also a lot of rumors out there that Ezra may have been abused as a younger actor as well. That's Hollywood. So at the end of the day, I'm not doing mental gymnastics. There is such thing as mental health, and it's only you right-wingers who don't believe in mental health. It's only you right-wingers who believe in leaving someone on the floor when they're down on the floor. It's you right-wingers who don't want any immigrants coming to countries. Well, guess what? It's the immigrants who do all the hard work. And you people who come from the countries want a cup of tea every 5 minutes. That's what Brexit's done, by the way, Mr. Rolo, right? I bet you're a right little right-winger, aren't you? Yeah. Mental gymnastics, don't believe in this, don't believe in that. Don't believe the world could end if we don't look after our environment. Environment deniers as well, right? Yeah. Look what happened on Krypton when they didn't believe Jor-El. Smash! That's it. So there's no mental gymnastics. Ezra Miller did wrong. I forgive them. It's not for me to forgive them. It's for the people that they wronged to forgive them. So they do with me. I am not the moral high court. You're not the moral high court because you've done wrong stuff in your life. Because we all have. And that's okay. So I'm not making excuses for Ezra Miller. That's an assumption on your side. So I will enjoy every DC movie. I don't care if they're alcoholics, drug addicts. I don't care what they are, what they do. As long as they make me great shit, I'm going to watch it. I'm fed up of this world. I'm fed up of everyone acting like they're morally superior to everybody else because everyone in this chat has done wrong shit. I've done wrong shit. I'm still sitting here eating, living and breathing. And good luck to me and good luck to everyone because we are all flawed and it's okay. You don't like Ezra Miller. Maybe you don't like Ezra Miller because he identifies in a way that you don't approve of. And maybe that thing is the thing that you're really against, but you're using like the stuff that Ezra's accused of as something convenient. so you don't like them. Now, we've seen the fandom menace. Why don't the fandom menace like Ezra Miller? We all know the real reason why the fandom menace don't like Ezra Miller, don't we? But they're using what they're accused of to go at them. They shat on the Flash movie trailer. Why has Ezra Miller got a job? Because that is the industry, right? They need to make money, they want to make money, and they're not getting rid of him. How do they even take him out of the movie? The guy isn't, not the guy, sorry, they are in every single scene. How do you remove Ezra Miller from that movie? Do you shelve? Do you shelve that movie? It's something I talked about last year. I was a lot more angry about Ezra Miller, but I calmed the fuck down. Rolo, I'm not saying I'm perfect. You are. By judging Ezra Miller, you're saying you've done nothing wrong. And you're saying I'm defending him. You made assumptions about me. I wasn't defending him. I was just saying the person's there. Let's enjoy the movie. Rolo, I'm not saying I'm perfect. You're making assumptions about me. And Gen Z and right wing don't really go together. Gen Z, right? Or whatever generation. Gen Z or like people in their 20s, you all have this moral superiority complex. You're always talking about my generation and how your generation is so much better than the other generations. Yeah, really? Driving people to suicide, DMing people, attacking their weight, attacking their looks. What a great generation Gen Z and people in their 20s are. The worst generation ever. My generation is superior to yours because we didn't judge each other, right? We were different. We were more innocent. But this is where we are today. So I'm not making assumptions about you. I've seen it. I've experienced it. I've seen young women and young men kill themselves because of what your generation does, sitting by a computer all day, DMing people, attacking people, not being able to accept other people's opinions. I merely said I wanted to enjoy the Flash movie. All of a sudden, I was defending Ezra Miller. I have never defended Ezra Miller. No one attacked Ezra Miller more than me last year. I grew the fuck up. I accepted the situation. I saw that trailer and I thought, you know what? Let's go and watch the movie. Ezra Miller's a great actor. Don't give a shit anymore. What they've done, what they haven't done, it's not on me. Rolo, I'm personally never done any of these things. I don't care about Ezra's identity choice. Well, that's good. But your generation, it does believe they have moral superiority and talks to other generations about what they've done historically. Really? We're all as bad as each other. We're all as bad as each other. We all do shit. Why don't we just accept that we all do shit, that we're not perfect, and move on? And let's enjoy the Flash movie, right? Because it's going to be epic. And no, the VFX in the trailer wasn't bad. It was fucking awesome. And they're going to make it even better. Blue Beetle Animator, we're DC fans, not Ezra fans. I'm not a fan of Ezra Miller, right? It's not about that. This is a movie to celebrate. Listen, there's nothing you can do. Ezra Miller is in that movie. Now, my hunch is that he won't play the Flash. They won't play the Flash again. I believe that. But obviously, if that movie makes $1 billion or $2 billion by some miracle, then they may be stuck with them. I don't know. But ultimately, it is what it is. I wouldn't have cast him as the Flash in the first place, but I do think they are a good Flash, by the way. And Ezra Miller has fought for this movie as much, maybe more than anyone. He's the one who got rid of multiple directors and wasn't happy with a lot of the visions. And I think that, Ezra and Andy got on really well on set. I think the job was done properly. I think Kiersey Clements has defended Ezra Miller as well. I don't know what happened. I wasn't there. I was talking earlier. Rolo, we don't have to cape for Ezra just because we want to support DC. I'm not again, you're saying the same thing you'd said before. I'm not caping for Ezra Miller. I said that the person has put their hands up, they're getting the treatment that they need, and we move on. And that's the end of it. I'm not caping for Ezra Miller, but they are the Flash. That's the way it is. And it doesn't matter. Don't get upset. Don't get upset about what I'm doing. Don't worry about what I'm doing and saying. You know, that's my view. That I don't care. I don't care what people do. Ezra Miller could get married and cheat on his wife 6 billion times and I wouldn't care. But your generation, oh my God, cheat on their wife, cancel them. Right, imagine turning up to work, right, and being told, oh, you cheated on your wife, mate. You're sacked. Oh, guess what? You said a wrong thing once. Oh my God, you argued with a black woman once. Oh my God, you're fired, you're fired, you're cancelled, you're cancelled. That's what this generation, that's the world we live in today. We have to be able to say a person did something wrong and we can move on from that. We can't hold shit against each other. It's a ridiculous, illogical way to live. And at the end of the day, Rolo, I see on the internet a lot, there's this unrealistic way of viewing the world. And as I keep on saying, we all do bad shit and we all need to move on from that bad shit. That's the way it is. It's not going to change. Human beings are flawed. Human beings are different. I'm not caping for Ezra. That's another, modern term, I guess, right? I don't care. I don't care about the TikTok terms or the Instagram terms or the Twitter terms, right? You people, let me explain something to you, Rolo. Do you realize why there's a third world war being fought in Ukraine? Because they know your generation isn't capable of fighting in a third world war. Not like the superior generation of the late 30s and the early 40s. Imagine what those generations went through. Were they busy getting offended and accusing that one or saying, oh my God, Hitler's out of order. Hitler offends me. Your generation can't cope with anything. And that's the problem. Roller, and not every bad someone does in the same you're attributing right-wing and Gen Z with me. Why not? But that's the point. Your generation can't cope with anything. You started it, Rolo. You started it, Rolo, not me. You accused me of defending Ezra Miller. That's what I wasn't doing. Because this is why your generation is not capable of fighting in a third world war, because you'd be deserters. You're not capable of roughing it. You want a perfect world. But the problem is we all want a perfect world, but we know it's not possible. But your generation actually thinks they can, this is the demolition man situation, isn't it? It's the free fucking seashells. That's where we are. It's nuts. Because you're all brought up in the wrong way. That's the problem. Because you're all brought up by this progressive mentality. You can be whoever you want to be. Everyone is special. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. You're all fed on bullshit. And the problem is you believe the bullshit. Now, I saw the bullshit growing up in the films and TV shows. But now I realize that Santa Claus isn't real, right? And I accepted that. That's the difference. Yes, I did attribute that. Yes, that's right. So what? You started it, Rolo. You attributed me to defending Ezra Miller. And that's the problem with your generation. That's all right, isn't it? But what I said isn't all right because it affects you. And this is the hypocrisy of your generation, Rolo. It's okay for you to mistakenly accuse me of defending Ezra Miller, but it's not okay for me to wrongly attribute Gen Z and right wing to you. That's the difference. That's the hypocrisy. That's why Mr. Biden is protecting you by fighting a war in Ukraine and sacrificing the Ukrainian people, because your generation can't cope with anything. Anything. That's the problem. You would never be able to cope in a famine or a failed third world war. You can't handle anything. You can't handle someone having a different opinion to you on social media. How could you cope with a third world war? Things are coming in this world, and you, my friend, are not going to be able to handle it. Rolo, you're generalizing a generation. Too fucking right I am. There may be 5 or 6 good people out there who probably are not even on social media, but let's be honest. You're not the greatest generation out there, are you? Let's be honest. Let me ask you the question. Why is Mr. Biden fighting a third world war in one country? Because he knows. He knows your generation couldn't cope with a war. You'd be deserters. I'm offended. I'm offended by Putin. He's such a terrible person. No shit, Sherlock. But he's there, he has power, and he's doing it, and that's the reality, and we all have to roll our sleeves up, but not your generation. Your generation don't have to roll their sleeves up. They're too busy being offended and attacking everyone else on their worldviews. This is where we live. This is the reality. We're arguing about a film here, right? So I'm generalizing your generation, and I said, if you want to watch a movie, then watch it. But you accuse me, right, of defending Ezra Miller. And I wasn't defending Ezra Miller, was I? Say it. Say I wasn't defending Ezra Miller. Come on. I was not defending Ezra Miller. We spoke before, Rolo. We've had good conversations, but I'm not taking that shit. I was not defending Ezra Miller. But by God, I will hype this movie up. And I will hype Ezra Miller as a great actor because Ezra Miller is a great actor. That's it. I'm allowed to do that. I don't care what he's done. I don't care what people do. People can do all the bad shit they want. I don't care. Life is shit. Life is bad. We're going to be 6 feet under one day. Let us fucking enjoy our movies. We don't care what these people do. Fuck it. I don't care how immoral they are. I don't care that Tom Cruise founded Scientology. I don't care how he treated his wives. I don't care. I just want to see great movies. I'm not here to police people's behavior, right? I'm sick of it. I'm sick of this world. I'm sick of this bullshit. Rolo, you're bringing up politics where it isn't needed. And you brought up something about me that wasn't needed. You said I defended Ezra Miller. Say it, Rolo. Say I didn't defend Ezra Miller. You're not part of the right wing. There you go. Tell me I never defended Ezra Miller. But you're not going to do it, Rolo. So you're in the wrong, I'm in the right, you lose, and I win. End of story. And that's the way it is, my friend. That's the way it is. This is how it works on here. I love my movies, and I love my TV. And people can do all the bad shit they want to each other. Thank you. I didn't defend Ezra Miller. I don't care, Rolo. Do you know what I mean? I don't care what they do. I don't care what bad stuff they do. I don't care that Alec Baldwin didn't check if there was lead in the fucking gun. I don't care. End of story, right? Now, should they have loaded guns on the set? Of course they shouldn't. And they're lecturing other people about gun control, and they can't even control their own weapons. I don't care anymore. I don't care. I don't care if I'm a toxic male. I don't care if I make women sexual objects because I look at them when they walk past me and think, yeah, I wouldn't mind giving that one. I don't care. That's the world we live in. It's a very sexual world. Just go on Instagram, right? Bloody hell. It's great. I love Instagram. It's great. I love women in bikinis. But this world is too uptight. This world is too uptight. That's the problem. Everyone's uptight about everyone. This person said this. This person did that. Oh, no. Why should... Oh, my God. Do you remember when that person said that? Why are they in that film? That person said that. What are they doing there? Oh, my God. It's terrible. Oh, my God. That's the world we live in. People destroyed Captain Marvel because of what Brie Larson said. Now, what Brie Larson said in that press conference about straight white males in their 30s was terrible. It was stupid, and it's not the way you market a film. But then people started, weaponizing the Captain Marvel movie. And I think Captain Marvel is a perfectly solid film, and people were saying, oh, it's a bad movie. Captain Marvel isn't a bad movie. Yeah, having Sam Jackson's Nick Fury be scratched by a cat, that was dumb and that was lame. But ultimately, I thought the movie was okay, and it did what it had to do. I didn't think it was a terrible movie. But people started taking out what Brie said on the movie. It wasn't a $1 billion movie. Of course it wasn't. But it was the movie before Infinity War or Endgame or whenever it was, right? So people went and saw it. But it was an okay movie. On the levels of movies today, it's an okay movie. If you put it next to Gone with the Wind, it's a shit movie. It depends what you put it next to. If you put it next to Ghost or you put it next to the superior movies that I grew up with, obviously, Brie Larson in Captain America isn't a very good film. If you compare most of the films that my generation grew up with to any Marvel Cinematic Universe film, they're not good films. The Marvel Cinematic Universe doesn't make films in terms of great films in the history of this industry, because we're not in a good place. In entertainment, we're not in a good place. Sit there doing their marketing. You have Sarah Michelle Gellar slagging off people for not liking female superhero movies. What are you doing? You're marketing your show. And everyone is so uptight and trying to sell their own worldview. And we're not having any fun anymore. And that's the problem, isn't it? When you can't have fun, when you can't enjoy, we're supposed to enjoy films. We're supposed to enjoy music and stuff. But everything's so political. How can I enjoy? I like Taylor Swift as an artist, but as a person, I can't stand Taylor Swift. I still listen to her songs, but as a person, I don't like her. I think she's everything that's wrong with the society that we live in. She's terrible, and she just keeps on making more and more money. I don't think she's a particularly good person. I don't think she's a particularly nice person, and I don't think she's particularly nice to people that are around her. But she is a talented person. I do think she's a good singer, but I don't like her. When I see her face, and she's my kryptonite, if you like. But that's the world we live in, I'm afraid, and we can't cancel everyone we don't like. And that's the point with Ezra Miller. I wouldn't go down the pub with Ezra Miller. I wouldn't be associated with Ezra Miller, but I will be associated with the film they're in because it's important. It's an important movie in going forward with DC. I think that if you love DC, you're going to go and watch it and you're going to get excited by it. And I think that Andy Muschietti's made a great movie. And that's another thing, isn't it, in people talking about boycotting a film. What about Andy Muschietti? What about everyone who made that film? What about the other actors? Do they get punished because of the conduct of one person? And that's the thing about it as well. Are people going to rob themselves of this because, they don't like this person? And it's clear people don't like this person, but we don't know what that person's been through. Again, I don't want to start defending that person, but they acted out for a reason. I don't know what that reason was. Now, a lot of the stuff they're accused of is pretty bad. For example, the person, Ezra is accused of grooming. I can't defend that. I wouldn't defend that. I have 10 nephews and nieces. I mentioned this last year. I was very upset, but there is no evidence of that accusation, right? The stuff that he's been accused of, that he's been arrested for, that's what the evidence is. He was accused of throttling someone. I think the police accosted him. I think he was arrested for breaking into a house, which is bad, but I ain't the police. I can't do nothing about that. All I can do is enjoy what life throws at me. And I mean, these days, because I find the industry so intolerably bad, I really only put my money to DC stuff, and even the bad DC stuff. I enjoy Black Adam. I don't think Black Adam's a great movie, again, compared to what I grew up with, but I think if you go and sit there and watch that, you put it in a machine or you go to the cinema and watch Black Adam, I think it's an enjoyable film and it's okay. And I think it's a lot better than a lot of the stuff in the MCU, but people shit on Black Adam for some reason. I don't think there was any need to make a Black Adam movie, but we got the movie. And yeah, I'm not surprised it didn't make a lot of money. I'm not surprised the reviews were bad. But if you sit there, you can enjoy it. And it's okay. I don't think the film specifically does anything wrong. I think the VFX is outstanding. I think Pierce Brosnan is a great Dr. Fate. I think probably the worst thing about the movie is The Rock, if I'm being honest. But I think he does his job solidly enough. But I think he's my least favorite thing about the movie. I think everyone else is really good, but I don't think he lets the side down. The Rock isn't an actor. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Van Damme, they can only play themselves. They're only there because of their muscular appearance, and, people like to watch them. That's it. So that's all he was ever going to be. People say, why didn't he put an accent on? Because he can't. He's not an actor. He's not an actor. He is a name. And he went to Warner Brothers 10, 15 years ago and said, I want to play Black Adam. They said, oh my God, you're The Rock. Okay, then. That's the way it works, Same way, they wanted to put in Marlon Brando in Superman the movie, sold that movie. Putting Gene Hackman in Superman the movie, sold the movie. Do you think anyone was interested in superhero movies in 1978? No. I mean, how old was I in 1978? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6 years old. I was 6 years old. So my memory is fleeting. But, if you watch documentaries, if you know the history of cinema and people and culturally, people laughed that they were making a Superman movie. No, the only person that really saw the future in making a Superman movie was Ilya Silkind, which was the son of Alexander Silkind. And they were the people who, produced the movie. Hunter Jolly, hey Meg, just join. Is Frank Grillo in Creature Commandos or is it something else? I'm hoping it will be Deathstroke. Yes, we did have that discussion, Hunter. And please, by all means, later on, rewatch the video. But yeah, let me explain. All we know is that Frank has confirmed he's joining DCU on his Instagram. He plastered the DC logo on there and said, here's to new beginnings or something like that. So he's definitely joining DCU. Apparently someone commented, or was it someone on the chat said they commented about him playing Deathstroke and he liked it. So we don't know. But let's go back to the clues that James Gunn's had prior to becoming CEO of DC Studios. So after Peacemaker, he said he was doing a much darker HBO Max series than Peacemaker, and it wasn't Amanda Waller. And a lot of us guessed at the time that it could be Deathstroke. And in fact, he's never denied being interested in making Deathstroke. I think it was either a Deathstroke series or a series involving Deathstroke. So I think it's more than likely, even if he didn't become co-CEO of DC Studios, that he was always going to cast Frank as Deathstroke. So I think, I'm not saying definitely, by the way, so don't kill the messenger, but I think there's a high probability that Frank Grillo will play Deathstroke. So, but we don't know. All we know is he's joining DC Universe, so he could be in Creature Commandos. He could even be in The Authority. That's something we haven't thought of. I mean, maybe Deathstroke could be involved in The Authority as well. But The Authority... So I know a lot of people are getting confused, but Creature Commandos... So basically... Well, where was I? Yeah, I was just reading that comment by Rolo. We'll get to that in a minute. So yeah, there's confusion about Creature Commandos and The Authority. Creature Commandos is a 7-episode animated streaming series written by James Gunn. Should be released next year. They're going to start making that very soon. The Authority is a movie, and I think that has a lot to do with Kingdom Come. And I think maybe we could be not just building up to maybe a Kingdom Come Superman one day, but a Kingdom Come DC Universe as well. So that's interesting. The Authority is going to be a very interesting take on this new DC Universe. Rolo. Oh, and lastly on this point, I'm Gen Z, but I'm not social media a lot, so I'm one of those good ones, like you said. You must be. Anyone, listen, I'm on social media a lot, so I ain't one of the good ones. I respect people who don't have any accounts on social media and live in the real world, because believe you me, they're the ones who are going to save our world. Because if we look what happened with COVID, they used technology against us. If it wasn't for the technology and the internet, they wouldn't have been able to lock us up for all those times. If there was no such thing as the internet, lockdowns wouldn't have been possible. And we all know that. But yeah, Rolo, no hard feelings. We had a little disagreement there. We move on from these things, don't we? But yeah, I would never defend Ezra Miller. I would never defend bad behavior. But I would say, you can do bad, but you can also do good. And that's it. I'm not one of these people who believes that as soon as someone does something that I don't agree with, that's it. I mean, I don't like the fact that I'm watching marketing for films and TV shows and they're saying that my gender and my generation are all potential rapists. I don't like that. I don't see where there's a place in that in modern society. And this is what's happened. And this is why the entertainment industry is becoming bankrupt. You notice when James Gunn announced the DCU slate, he said the most important thing for us is story. There was no virtue signaling in that announcement of the Gods and Monsters slate because David Zaslav doesn't swing that way. I think HBO Max will still be a little bit woke in places, I can tell. But in terms of theatrically, I think Warner Brothers Discovery are not going to go in that direction. One of the most effective studios right now is Paramount, because of Tom Cruise. The Tom Cruise side of Paramount is unwoke and it's all about the movie. It's all about entertaining the audience. The guy is standing outside premieres signing fucking autographs in rain, in snow, in sunshine. So that's the attitude. That's the attitude we want to see. We don't want the people we idolize talking down to us. telling us we're bad people when they've got loaded guns on set. That's what we want. We don't want the hypocrisy. We love you. We respect your talent, but don't be disrespectful to us, your customer, and don't abuse us. A bit like the guy on Bros, the way he abused people for not going to see his movie. I didn't even know that Bros was about homosexual men. That's how much I knew about Bros. Hunter Jolly, have you seen Ant-Man Quantumania? Far out, it sucks. Couldn't believe how far the MCU has fallen when I was watching it. I bet DC's about to make a huge comeback against Marvel. To answer your question, Hunter Jolly, I haven't seen any MCU content since episode 4 of Miss Marvel. I don't plan on seeing any MCU content. I don't like Disney. The only Disney content I'm interested in watching is from Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni's side of Star Wars. I'm definitely watching The Mandalorian. I think that's great Star Wars. I'm looking forward to Ahsoka. That's theirs as well. Anything made by Kathleen Kennedy's side, I won't watch. But yeah, those two things I'm very interested in. But yeah, I'm not surprised by your assessment of the movie. They have fallen, and we did discuss it yesterday. There's many reasons they have fallen creatively. Stuffing so much content out there and not creating a bigger workforce is part of that problem as well. But Kevin Feige, if he wants to continue as president of Marvel Studios and in a successful franchise, needs to change. People are done with chapterized movies. You can make chapterized movies like James Gunn is going to do, but you must make a great movie and have a little bit that furthers on the chapter. What MCU has become is lazy. Let's just forward the chapter and let's not worry about the movie. The reason that we've loved movies for 100 years, not people, we're not been alive for 100 years, is because of that. It's because it's the experience of watching a good film. Now, if you want to, I think that George Lucas with the original Star Wars trilogy did it perfectly. A New Hope forwards, really helps The Empire Strikes Back, but it's not stuck in that story. It's still telling its own story. The magic of Star Wars A New Hope is that it's a great film in its own right. It even has a happy ending, which means you don't have to continue it if it fails or you don't want to. Empire Strikes Back continues that story, but tells its own story, a little bit of a cliffhanger, but it doesn't sacrifice the film itself. And The Return of the Jedi is in that glorious position of telling a conclusion to a story. Rolo, the woman who wrote Birds of Prey and the cancelled Batgirl wrote The Flash, so I'm a bit worried. Now, that we can agree with. Now, Christina Hodgson's interesting. Christina Hodgson wrote the Bumblebee movie, which was solid at very best, but not bad. Birds of Prey, Rolo, is an interesting movie. Let me tell you why. I don't appreciate the toxic commentary against men in that movie, and men take credit for women's work. But I don't think she wrote a totally terrible movie. The movie does have some great moments. Harley's relationship with the young girl is interesting. I think that apart from the political extremist commentary in that film, I think it's solid. I think Black Mask was performed well by Ewan McGregor. I think he was written quite well, purposely as a toxic male, obviously. But I don't think it's a terrible, terrible movie. But again, it's not a great movie. What can I say about the Flash movie? I think she's definitely done a better job. I think the Flash movie is her best work thus far. And it'd be interesting what people think. I think you'll find that the movie was rewritten in places by Ben Affleck. His Batman stuff was rewritten. He didn't like what Hodgson did. So Ben Affleck wouldn't come back unless he was allowed to rewrite his dialogue. So he was allowed to do that. I would say I wouldn't worry about Christina Hodgson this time. It's a fun ride. So, yeah, I can understand being concerned about Christina Hodgson. Blue Beetle animator. Margot had control over Birds of Prey. She did, and she made an absolute mess out of it. When she finished it, Walter Hamada wasn't happy. They brought the John Wick director, Chad Zielinski. He tried to redo the action. I don't think he had enough time to do what he does with John Wick, and it wasn't an improvement. But Kathy Yan is a brilliant director, but Birds of Prey was wrong for her because she'd never made a film like that before. And I think the reason Kathy was brought in was for political reasons rather than her ability to make a good DC movie. So Margot Robbie has been in trouble since then. I think the studio have had doubts about her going forward as Harley Quinn. And as you can see, she's making this feminist Barbie movie. Absolutely insane. I can't see it being successful. But that's why I'm hoping that Lady Gaga's Harley Quinn is very successful. And eventually we get a new Harley. I am sure that James Gunn will keep on using Margot Robbie as Harley as lightly as possible, but he'll probably bring her in certain aspects. I don't know if he'll do a Suicide Squad 2. But yeah, I'm not a fan of hers anymore. And I used to be a big fan of Margot Robbie. I've been watching Margot Robbie since her stint in Neighbours. Hunter Jolly, not sure if you can speak on this or not, but do you think The Flash as a movie lives up to the hype of the incredible trailer? Oh, yes. Oh, yes. There is no worry about that, Hunter Jolly. It's an outstanding movie. What I like about it, it has the old-fashioned third act system, but it's so good. So the first act is beautiful because it sets up and foreshadows the other two acts. Obviously, you've got the Flashpoint thing, and that's joyous. That's a joyous celebration of what DC can do. And then the third act is very gripping, compelling, heart-wrenching, a great villain twist, as I explained yesterday. So I think it does. I think actually the trailer doesn't do the film justice, but I don't think you could do the film justice. And different to the MCU, this is a proper movie. Now we look at Spider-Man: No Way Home. People have compared No Way Home to the Flash movie. I think the Flash movie does a better job at its narrative. I think that No Way Home did a really good job with Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and they didn't overuse Toby and Andy. And I think that was important because, after all, it was Tom's movie. I think the same thing happens with the Flash movie, where Ezra's character it's his story. There's no question about that. Rolo, I like James Gunn's slate. There's some gems in there, but I'm confused as to where it starts. Does it start with Creature Commandos or Superman? I think we're probably going to get Creature Commandos first, but Creature Commandos is like this 7-episode animated thing. So even though it's the first thing, I think ultimately, as he says, the real launch pad for the DC universe is Superman Legacy. That's where you're going to see the great world building for this brand new universe and see this brand new Superman. And I'm really excited to do that. Hunter Jolly, technically the DCU begins with Blue Beetle. I don't know. I don't know. At this stage, my friend, I don't even know if Blue Beetle is situated in the new universe or still situated in the DCEU. I would imagine that it was always going to be situated in the new DCEU. Like the Batgirl movie literally has Keaton as the main Batman. He's there with Batgirl. So I think, yes, you're right. In a way, it is. But remember this, that Blue Beetle was made before James and Peter came in. So it was made within the premise of being in the Hamada new timeline and not the Gunn and Saffron timeline. So I think it's important to get that. So I don't know how that works. And originally, Blue Beetle had Batman. Batman was in Blue Beetle, and I think it was Michael Keaton's Batman. Clearly, they're going to have to cut him from that movie, which is a great shame. So you're right, technically it does, but that film was made prior to James and Peter and the DC studios starting. So how do you deal with that? I have no idea, but I'm sure they've tried to deal with it and thin the movie out as possible. So, for example, not showing Keaton's Batman, which is a great shame because one of the actors did tease that Batman is in that movie. And I don't think they can have Keaton's Batman in that movie. But the truth is, we don't know how The Flash finishes and how it sets up things. I think the only thing the Flash movie can do, from what I've seen in the test screening, is literally have him come back to Flashpoint, come back to Earth 1, not show very much once he's come back, and just show the new universe that's been formed, and it just like blacking out. I can't, because in the movie, that I saw. Barry Allen returns. He's standing there with Supergirl, Aquaman, and Barry's wondering where Superman is. And they don't remember. At first, the rest don't remember who Superman is, but then they click in. And then it about moves next to somebody else, but you don't quite see who that is. So there was a bit of stuff in the new universe after he fixes Flashpoint, but I don't know what they've done, because I think they have done reshoots. So I don't know how this ends. That's one of the things I'm captivated about, to see what happens in the end of this Flash movie. Rolo, when it comes to the Flash, I think Sasha Calle could be a good Supergirl. Just put her in a blonde wig when the universe reboots. I think if she stays, her hair remains. I don't think they give her a blonde wig. I don't think that happens. I think that would be no, not disrespecting your view, Rolo. I think that would be ridiculous after we've seen her in. I like her hair. I know Supergirl, the main OG version of Supergirl, is blonde. But if you want to go that way, you've got to recast. I like Sasha. I think she could be great. I wouldn't be upset if she keeps her role. I think it's extremely unlikely that Sasha Calle remains Supergirl. But even though things are unlikely in this industry, in this game, it doesn't make it impossible. So, yeah, I don't know. Yeah. It's... I think you could roll a dice and say, does she stay? Doesn't she stay? I don't know, but I think that Gunn and Safran are going to cast somebody else. That's just the feeling that I have. But it's interesting that this new universe is born out of the old DCEU, and they've already said the 4 leads of this year's movies could be involved in the future of the new timeline. So that's interesting. But I think Zachary Levi said it right in part of the marketing for Shazam! Fury of the Gods. It all depends on the box office. If it's successful, you'll probably see me again. If it's not successful, you won't see me again. So this could be the last time we see this version of the Shazam family. There's no question about it. David Zaslav is a businessman. He's not like the other idiots who used to run WB. You've got to make money. You've got to make money. And if you don't make money, you won't continue to work for Warner Brothers Discovery. It's as simple as that. Rhoda, I think it could work since Jessica Alba was the Invisible Woman. Baz Super, I have a feeling that The Flash is good. Make at least $1 billion. I hope so. I hope this film gets the credit it deserves. And for if anything, for the director's own good, because what he's done with that movie, the changes he's had to make, it's been because he's been put in charge, probably in the most important movie in DC live action history. It doesn't make it the best movie. I don't think it's the best movie, but I think it's a really, really great movie. But it's so important because it forges a new future. But as a movie itself, this is Barry Allen's movie. Make no mistake, it's not a Batman movie, it's not a Supergirl movie, but Flashpoint has always been a story that catalogues why DC is so great. To see it change from this alternate universe to that alternate universe, it's a lot of fun. So the Flashpoint story has always been about a lot more than Barry Allen. But Barry Allen, beginning from Jeff Johns' graphic novel, has always been the heart and soul of that story. So it's an important thing to understand. Really, the star of the Flashpoint graphic novel was always the DC universe. And I believe that, that's what this story does in this film. It celebrates the DCEU before it leaves it behind. And we are leaving the DCEU behind now. Even though they've said there's potential to use these 4 leads from this year. It'll be interesting. What will make more money, Blue Beetle or Shazam! Fury of the Gods? The Blue Beetle film is I suppose the one coming out the cold. That's the one that we really don't know. We know Susan Sarandon is the villain in it, but we don't know how well, because you can't just have DC fans there's been this thing where people say DC fans hype DC stuff online, but don't go to support movies in movie theaters. That's not why DC films fail at the box office. DC films fail at the box office. DC fans are going to support them, but it's the general audience that hasn't been interested thus far. Rolo's Ezra is too controversial after when the movie comes out. They need to recast. I think we won't see a Flash for a very long time in the DCU. Hunter Jolly, I think Flash will make a healthy profit, but $1 billion struck me as a little steep. Look, DC movies are unpredictable. You never know how they're going, what they're going to do. I think that superhero movies now are going to become unpredictable in terms of box office because they're not the trend anymore. They're not. People are gagging for great movies again of variety, and I don't necessarily think they're the big selling point they once were. But if you make a really, really good one, you can make a lot of money. I think last year's box office showed you what people want to see now. We saw the Northman do really well. We saw Top Gun Maverick do extremely well. Minions: The Rise of Gru do really well this year. We've seen the Puss in Boots animated movie do really well. So I think what happened was a few years back, anything Disney would make money. I think Disney is not a trend anymore. And I think before, any shit they were putting out was making money. But I think people now are not going to be going that way. People have a mistrust of Disney. They went extremist politically, and they've lost people's trust. There's a divide in the audience now. And I think people want to see great content of great variety rather than just seeing the same old shit and going, it's Disney, man, it's got to be good. And I think that's where it's changed. I think if you make good shit, you'll be rewarded for it. And they don't care if you're MCU or Disney or whatever, or Star Wars. If you make bad shit, you will not be rewarded for that. Now, the prime example is Lightyear, which had the name, had the Toy Story brand on it. You would imagine people would go and sit there and it would make $2 billion, $1 billion. It didn't. People didn't like the political mileage that movie had and what it was attempting to do. So people are not stupid anymore. They know exactly what's going on. Make great entertainment, give people escapism, or you're not going to get rewarded anymore. Hunter Jolly, who do you think the main villain of Gods and Monsters will be? I'm hoping for Brainiac or the Legion of Doom. Well, Gods and Monsters tells you everything you need to know. So you could have, maybe it's not just one villain, maybe it's a god and a monster teaming up. So that'll be interesting. I think it's got to be I think James Gunn's a fan of using characters that haven't been used very much. So a lot of people are saying Darkseid, but because Darkseid is such a popular character, maybe James will go along the side of something that hasn't been used before. And then it could be literally anything because there's so many gods and there's so many monsters in the DCU that it could be absolutely anyone, Hunter. Rolo, I think Star Wars needs a long time to recover. Well, the problem for Star Wars is they're owned by Disney. They've ruined it. I think Liam Neeson said it great. Too many spin-offs. Where's the cinematic? Since the Rise of Skywalker, they haven't released one film. They've announced a Taika Waititi, is that how you say his name, movie? Big mistake. I don't want that guy making Star Wars, but he is making Star Wars. Look, I'm not sure about Star Wars. I think it was great under George Lucas, whether you like the prequels or not. We had the prequels, we had the original trilogy, we had the animated stuff, all great. I think Star Wars has a lifespan. I think once you've told that Skywalker story, you probably should leave it alone because I just don't see what else you can do with Star Wars. And they've struggled to create something new for Star Wars. From the beginning, from The Force Awakens, they should have done something new. If you want to tell the 9-episode arc of George Lucas, you've got to allow him. You've got to make his sequel trilogy. Iger, in his book, confirmed that he rejected doing Lucas's sequel trilogy. That's what should have happened, but they didn't. I believe that Lucas should have been on the set, that they should have done his sequel trilogy, and from the moment they didn't, they killed Star Wars. So yeah, Rolo, I agree there. Star Wars does need a long time to recover. It probably needs a break. There's this civil war now at Disney and Lucasfilm. You've got the side of Kathleen Kennedy. Then you've got Filoni and Favreau on the other side. Of course, publicly, they pretend to love each other. But of course, that's not the truth. So when Jon Favreau goes, oh, I love Kathleen Kennedy, we couldn't do it without her. Of course, that's bullshit. But these people are used to lying. That's how they live. Their lives are a lie. Anyone who's been to Hollywood, or anyone who's been to California knows that. Hunter Jolly, to be honest, I think Taika is a good filmmaker. Boy Hunt, For the Wilder, People, Jojo Rabbit are all bangers. I just think he gets carried away when handed a massive franchise and loses his mojo. Well, listen to me, Hunter Jolly. This is like the Bryan Singer element of X-Men and X-Men 2. Bryan Singer was a great indie director in terms of The Usual Suspects. He made X and X2 like an indie movie. But when Superman Returns, when he was given a big budget, he wasn't able to handle it. Now, I've never seen Jojo Rabbit or The Boy Hunt for the Wild, but that's the difference. They're small films with a person with a vision, right, who knows where to point the camera. And as long as you can do that, you can tell a small story. But Star Wars and these little things, it's like people arguing about Patty Jenkins and saying, well, she made a great independent movie once. That doesn't really matter when it comes to a Wonder Woman movie. And as you can see with Wonder Woman 84, she got completely lost and she didn't have a clue, which proves she had very little to do with the first Wonder Woman film, apart from having her name on it and telling a few actors to look up in the sky and say blue. And so, yeah, I don't really look. I think, for example, Thor Ragnarok is an overrated film. The only thing I like about Thor Ragnarok is that Hulk's in it and he talks and interacts with Thor. That element of it is brilliant, and that really didn't have much to do with Taika Waititi. Rolo, I think Gods and Monsters are setting up Justice League versus the Authority in a civil war type of scenario. I think that's a good shout, Rolo, because the Authority see running the DC universe in a different way to the Justice League. And I think ultimately the Authority could be the villain that James Gunn is setting up. This would be very, very exciting. James Gunn is a clever guy, and he's not looking to make a universe of fart jokes and silliness just because he's done that in the past. He's a fan. He understands the comics. He understands this world. I think he will do a good job. I know a lot of people don't agree with that. Some people don't like James Gunn, but I do think he's setting things up and planning things. Also, I like the fact that he's not just going to push 5 or 6 projects out a year. I think it's important. I mean, we're only getting the Batman 2 and Superman Legacy in 2025. I think 2 DC movies in theaters is more than enough. So that's a good thing. So I think they're really going to take their time, but that's a good shout. And actually, I'm very interested in the Authority. I don't know much about them, but what I've heard about them is very interesting. And I think the Authority is going to be a great movie. I really do. And I think it's an important movie. I think it sets something up for sure. Hunter Johnny, Dave Bautista said he won't play Bane. Do you think he could potentially play someone else like Lex Luthor? Or do you think he's completely done with comic book roles? I think he's looking to kind of pave a serious career for himself. So he's probably not going to be involved in DCU. I wouldn't like him as Lex Luthor. I just can't see how he would play a good Lex Luthor. I never really liked the Bane fan casting either. I think there's so many great actors out there who can play Lex, who can play Bane, and I think just because someone's well known and we like them, it doesn't mean we should just fan cast anyone to play these roles. So, source material comment. What's so funny about the truth? Where am I? Rolo, and the Authority comic inspired the Superman versus the Elite source material comic. What's so funny about Truth, Justice, and the American Way? So I hope we see Manchester Black soon. It's interesting because I really like the animated movie Superman versus the Elite. Now, I didn't know that, Rolo, so thank you for informing me. This is why I like doing lives, because I get informed. I'm more of a comic book live action viewer rather than reading the comics. So that's some good information. So that would be good, because I love, as I say, I love Superman versus the Elite, the graphic novel, or should I say the animated movie based on these series of graphic novels. I think it really does justify Superman's no-kill policy. It's beautiful. And I think if we could do that in a Superman movie, I think people would be stunned in silence. And you'd never hear that Superman should kill ever again. I saw that movie while all the discourse was happening over MOS and BS. And the film, that animated movie is perfect. It just breaks your heart. It's beautiful. And it says, yeah, that's why he shouldn't kill. Blue Beetle Animator. Let's read this. Blue Beetle Animator. The Authority has homosexual characters. Do you think that will be a turn-off for the audience? No. Why would it? Why would that turn an audience off? You do realise there's homosexual people and people of the LGBTQ community that are part of that audience. Why would that turn them off? So no, it wouldn't turn me off. No. I mean, I was brought up in a very homophobic home. My parents weren't, were very anti homosexual people, different people, things like that, to say the least. And I remember watching a soap opera called EastEnders in the UK. And this was in the 80s, when most people were pretty homophobic. And we had two characters called Colin and Barry. And of course, they were gay and they were living together. And this was a great education for someone who was brought up by homophobic parents. I love my parents, by the way. Don't think they're bad people. They just didn't know any better. And really, television and film, when doing these things in the right way and treats like people of different minorities and different sexualities as human beings, I think it's great. And so I don't see why that would turn off any audience. And if it does, then I don't know what to say. Rolo, it's the type of Superman story we need right now, and the dark, edgy tone of the Authority inspired the creation of the Elite. Yeah, I do like, again, I didn't know that. Thank you for that information. But I've always said this. I said, if you're going to do Superman again, if you're going to do a new universe, and I think look at that Superman and Elite, Superman versus the Elite animation. I haven't read the graphic novel, but that's where everything originates from, and that's brilliant. But if you take what they did in that animated movie and you put that in a Superman movie, and in the end, you've got Superman literally making them think that he's going to kill them. And then he says, I never would. And you get that beautiful moment where Manchester Black goes, this is not you. You don't do this. But this is what you wanted me to do. This is what you wanted me to be like. And that's the point. It's literally talking about what happens in MOS and BVS. It's literally facing those people down who support the fact that Superman should kill. And it's saying, no, I never will. And this is why I won't, because this is who I am and you can't change me. And if you want me to kill, you're going to have to follow somebody else, because I'm never going to do it. Rolo, people only complain when characters get their sexualities changed. But when the characters are gay in the source material, then there's no reason to complain. No, there's no reason to complain. Yeah, obviously, if all of a sudden a straight character is gay, someone who's been straight for 40, 60, 80 years, and you all of a sudden decide, to make them gay, that's a problem for audiences. But merely having homosexual characters in a film is absolutely no problem for me and for a majority of the audience. And also, you try not to virtue signal this. You try not to make a big deal of it in the marketing, because after all, homosexual people and minorities are just another part of the human race. So they should be part of movies as long as you focus on their characters, because sexuality doesn't define us. Who we are in our hearts defines us. And I think that's something the entertainment industry haven't got their heads around. They really don't know how to do good representation and good inclusion, because the key to good representation and inclusion is just treating everyone in the same way. But they don't get that. They have this thing that they say, don't kill the gays, because gays have always been killed, which is nonsense. Nonsense. But all of a sudden we're saying, that gay characters should have diplomatic immunity and they shouldn't die. What's the point? What's the point? Rolo, the gay characters in The Authority are Midnight Ita and Apollo, and they were gay from the inception. So there's no problem. There's no problem. There's no problem. You can have gay characters. You can have Indian characters. You can have Native American characters. You can have black characters. You can have white characters. It doesn't matter. Just make a great story and define great characterizations. None of that matters. But everyone lives on this planet. And a gay person is just as relevant as a straight person. And a straight person is just as relevant as a gay person. A black person is just as relevant as a white person, vice versa. We all live on this earth and we should be in movies and the world should be shown. But no box tick should have diplomatic immunity. Just like a straight white male should be able to be shot in the head in a film, so should a gay character. But this is the problem. We've got extremists running and writing and directing in the industry now, and they're the wrong people. We need sane, talented creatives. And of course, we should be able to have a variety of human beings in our entertainment. And of course, that isn't off-putting. So I have no issue with that whatsoever. But I think also people in the industry today and people in the media have weaponized the LGBTQ community and minorities, weaponized them, pretending that they're on their side. But you've weaponized those people. And they're getting hated now by people because of people in the industry, because of people in the media, because they've weaponized them. And that's a shame, and that's a problem. Using these people for their political mileage. And that's where the problem is today. Why do I care if there's a gay person in a film? Why should that put me off? Why would I even think about that? Why would that be a problem? So everyone, I'm going to wrap this up. I was only meant to come on here for half an hour. And then it got a bit, and then it calmed down a bit. And then we did a really long episode of today's DC Universe Daily. And in the end, I had a lot of fun doing it. Ultimately, I love DC. And I will always give all DC content a chance. So I can't not watch something. And get excited for something. Now, if it's bad and I don't like it, I will say I don't like it. Rona, I think James is doing the right thing by using characters that were already gay instead of changing someone's sexuality. Yeah, listen, Zaslav won't allow that anyway. And I agree with you. There's no need to say, look, why do you think when they did the whole Superboy story and Superboy became Superman, they made Superboy gay rather than making Superman straight? They know they'll never get away with making Superman gay. Never. But changing Superboy, John Kent, into being gay, I know a lot of people were triggered by it, but ultimately, if someone has to take one for the team, sorry, I'm only joking, I'm saying this humorously, but if someone has to take this one for the team in terms of diversity, I'd rather it be Superboy than Superman. Now, Superman was always gay. I wouldn't care, of course not. No problem whatsoever. But you can't make Superman gay. Mainly because of the Lois Lane situation. Unless you make him Lois Lane. And she changes her gender. And then it's fucking ridiculous, isn't it? And we really don't want to do that. So, yeah. I think the world has gone mad. I think the extreme left have weaponized the LGBTQ community, the trans and the homosexual community for their ends, pretending they're on their side, but using them. You're being used. They're not on your side. They have weaponized you for their own causes. And that's a shame. And they're turning people away from your community by doing it. At the end of the day, I judge people on my experiences of people. And I don't define people by their race or their gender. I don't care. If you want me to call you a she, her, or whatever your pronouns are, I will do it. I am a man, I'm a he, That's how I like to be referenced. Like you have a preference of being referenced. Respect me. I respect you. Everyone's happy. I'm not a he, him. I'm not a he, him. I'm just a he. I'm a man. That's it. Right? So we all got, I'm old school. I'm 50 years old. But I'm happy to respect what you want to be called. So you have to respect that I'm a he. That's it. I don't even want to argue about that one. So, yeah, Rolo is correct. I think James Gunn is a smart guy. And I think, I'm not saying, James Gunn is left-leaning. There's nothing wrong with being left-leaning as long as you're not cruel about it and you don't target people with other opinions with it. And you don't keep on going on about toxic masculinity and straight white males and shit like that. As long as you're, placid about your opinions and you don't hurt people via your opinions, it's fine. But we're very, very lucky with this new vision. David Zaslav, now, I'm not a right-winger, but I think David Zaslav is a Republican. Now, even though I would never go that way, I'm moderate left, I would say. I don't like to bring politics into, but films have become political, I'm afraid. So I think David Zaslav being right-wing could help us in the way that we don't go woke, that we don't upset and trigger people who want to come in and enjoy entertainment. He's not going to allow any of that, but he will be fair. He will be fair. So, of course, you can have gay characters and characters of different sexualities and minorities in. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Only Adolf Hitler wouldn't allow that. But in terms of race bending and changing people's sexuality, that's a no-no. So, and I mean, it's interesting when we talk about like gender pronouns these days, but have you noticed when you're watching a film, people still address each other as he and him? They haven't really gone with the new gender pronouns, have they, in storytelling? I think that's very, very interesting. I don't know what it's like in modern day comics, but they go on about it a lot, but it's not used in films, and no one's actually ever mentioned that. That's interesting. I mean, the problem is it would be very weird if you watched a film and you went, oi, he, him, oi, she, her. It's like, it would be mad, wouldn't it? It would be mad. But that is the new way of doing things. So, look, I respect everyone and all their views, but we have to admit, we live in a mad fucking world. And as a 50-year-old guy who was born in 1972 too, it blows my mind. And this is why I went off at you, Rolo, because I can't handle it. I can't handle it. I'm just a simple man who wants to enjoy his shit. That's it. I have my opinions. Sometimes they could be a little bit toxic, of course. But at the end of the day, I'm just a simple bloke. And I just don't want to hold grudges. I don't want to, say, oh, this isn't Snyder, so I'm not going to watch it. I love the Snyderverse, but I can't rob myself of the enjoyment of my beloved DC because Zack Snyder's not around anymore. Rolo, because this pronoun stuff isn't really most people. It's opening a Pandora's box. As I say, I'm not against it. I'm not necessarily for it, but I'm not against it, and I respect what people want to be called. But it's not like in normal life when you're talking to people, you're going she, her, or he, him. I mean, how I avoid this in real life is I call people by their names. That's how I avoid it. And obviously, but it could be a time where you're arrested and prosecuted for misgenderizing people. I've misgendered Ezra Miller on multiple occasions on my videos by accident. It's easily done. So we are stepping into an insane, dangerous world. But super. It would be confusing if they referred to a singular person as they in a movie because it can make the storytelling confusing. But that's the problem. You either want to do it or you don't want to do it. The people who make this shit are the ones that support it. So it doesn't. You're right. You're right. How can I say they? Who am I talking about? They. You'd have to fucking get a finger and point at they. Whoever's like kind of pronoun is they. It's an insane world, and I don't want to firebomb it and say, oh, I'm against this and I'm against that, or a man is a biological man and all that shit. I don't want to get into that. I really never want to get, because I don't really have strong opinions on that. My belief is if you're an adult and you want to change your gender, that's fine. But I do not believe in preteens, right? Anyone below the age of 16 being able to change their genders. Because let me give you an example. When I was a kid, I wanted to be Superman, right? When I was a kid, I wanted to be Michael Knight. I wanted to be a guy who wore braces in an Aussie soap called East Street. I wanted to be Marcus Tandy off El Dorado with the glasses and the slick back hair. Guess what? I grew out of it. When you're a kid, you don't know your own mind. And I think changing your gender is an adult decision. And I don't agree that children should be able to change. Now, in terms of gender pronouns, without taking any medication, that's a different situation. But look, as someone who was born in 1972, I'm not really a good authority on any of this shit. I just think we've woken up in the Demolition Man world. I think we've woken up in an apocalypse. It's just crazy. And I don't know how far it's all going to go, because this is just the beginning. And it is crazy. Look, if you're me and you don't understand it and you come from a generation that I did, it's very difficult. But what I try and do is balance everything and be fair and compassionate and kind as much as I can. So I never hate on anyone. I don't hate on the transgender community. I let them get on with their lives and do what they want to do. And I would never say to them, you're not this and you're not that, and you don't have the right to this. I would never do that. But I've never had the feelings of wanting to change my gender. So I don't know where they're coming from. But it doesn't mean I can't be kind and respectful to them. It doesn't mean one day I can't be friends with a transgender person. I've never met a transgender person. That doesn't mean any of that. So I'm open. But also, for someone like me, at my age, it is very weird and scary, the world we find ourselves in, because I thought things like this would only be in films set in the future. I never thought that one day I'd wake up to the Demolition Man movie asking what the free seashells actually are. This has been Sunday's very extended edition of the DC Universe Daily with me, Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wife. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss this beautiful perfection. And I'll see you again tomorrow in the next video. Until I see you again, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Rolo. No hard feelings. We had a good fight and we became friends again. Thank you, Blue Beetle. Thank you, Ronnie Dodge. And thank you, Bat Super. That's whose name I nearly forgot. And anyone else who I'm forgetting, I appreciate you all. This is a very small channel with very few people who come in, and I appreciate you. I don't cry myself to sleep because I've not got a successful channel. I come in, it's part of my OCD. I have to do these videos. I love entertainment. There's no way I could miss a day without doing this. So anyone who follows and subscribes and likes and supports me, that's a beautiful thing. I don't need nothing more from life, apart from right now, a bacon sarnie and a cup of tea. I've been talking and arguing for over 2 hours. Boy, it's tiring work. I'll see you tomorrow. Check me over on Twitter at MoviesTVMad. I'll be on there all day as well. I'll be retweeting all the breaking entertainment news. You never miss a trick if you follow me on Twitter. So until I see you again, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen.